The following podcast may be explicit. One Joe Young presents Adventures from the Shed, a tabletop RPG podcast. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com. Hey, you can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube as well. We're all over the place. We're going to get started back up with our 5th edition campaign set in the Erridan Empire, and Jason's going to kick us off. Go for it, Jason.
That is right. I will do so. Thank you, Joe. I am Jason, your DM for this sprawling megacity 5e campaign. So I don't want to waste too much time. I want to get into it here because we left off at a pretty good spot. So if everyone wouldn't mind, go ahead and introduce yourselves. We are one person short, so everyone is aware. Chris is on bedtime duty for his new kids and everything else like that, doing dad duty. So we'll get him in here as soon as he's available. But if you don't hear from Chris, that's why he's not here.
I guess that's my cue since I'm unshackled by fatherly duties. My name is Eli. I play Raze, a scheming, conniving tiefling bard.
And I am Joe. I am shackled by fatherly duties. I was actually in a car with a 16-year-old not long ago, still recovering nerves from that. And she can hear me, so that's why I'm saying it. But anyway, I am playing the Warforged Artificer Rolex with his Steel Defender, which is a cat that has now officially been named Dog.
Meow woof. Speaking of cats that dog on people, my name is Randy, and I play a fighter named Les. He is a tabaxi, taxi cat. Anyway, with a heart of gold.
All right, very good. Well, let's do the recap here. Anyone want to volunteer, or should we just make Joe do it?
I mean, if you're going to throw it out there.
Well, I feel bad because Joe so seldom gets to do the recaps because he's usually DMing everything.
I like to throw other people under the bus. The funny part is I think the bus actually has my name on it. So
Previously on F's.
Yes. So here's the funny part, because I was listening to the end of the previous episode to name this episode, and it occurred to me I don't remember the beginning of the previous episode, but let me try it. All right. We got to District 13. It was 13, right?
12.
Yes. 12, exactly as I said. Hey, Chris is about to join us. I'm going to let him into the room here as I'm doing the recap. But we got to District 12. We got the we got to the building that had the meeting place for Raze's group, and we learned that the sun sets a lot. It's like 8 times in a day, if I remember right. And so we got into that room, and then as part of that, so Chris is here now. Hey, Chris, I'm just going over the recap, and I'm probably going to screw it up horribly. So as we were in there, one of the things we noticed was the person who was part of the kidnapping, which I guess was an apparent kidnapping and seems to be more of a scheme, was seen in the back room. And I'm kind of cutting right towards the end of the episode here. As we were towards the end of the episode, Raze had found out she was in the back room and was about to ask her something, and we were going to try and catch her before she got away to do something, which is why I named this episode based on something I think Raze had said before we finished, which was it's a race against the clock. So we're trying to get more information on what's going on there. And inside the room, after this secret words were whispered and the door opened, we saw the end of the episode. And now I think the room probably has the beginning of this episode in it. And I think that's where we are now. How horrible is that?
Well, looking at Eli's face when you were doing that here, I think it's probably not very accurate.
It didn't match what he remembered, at least.
I got caught up on It's a Race Against Time.
Yeah, it's nice. I wish I had thought of it that way. That's how I pronounced it, but I actually put race, Race. It should have been a Raze Against Time. As soon as I saw your face, I was hoping that's what you were thinking, but I still screwed it up. So.
We can fix it in post.
Yes, exactly. We can fix it in post.
A couple of small details were left out in the Stew and Pearl. The tabaxi, I believe the tabaxi caused a bit of a scene. Somebody fell over a bit.
Yeah.
The Warforged removed his ear so we could listen into a conversation on behalf of somebody else.
And Dog helped provide a distraction.
No,
Yeah.
Les
Yeah.
was busy staring at his nose the whole time. He didn't. Do
Oh
anything.
yeah.
No.
I rolled perception with a bonus and got a whole like 3, I think it was.
Yeah,
So
no, Les made a horrible pun in the bar, and the bar stopped for about a brief.
Yeah, everybody stopped and just
Yeah.
looked at him for a second.
Yeah,
You
and
could
then
hear
just
a pin
went back
drop.
about their business.
I guess everyone paused.
exactly.
Oh,
Just like that here.
Oh,
Again, Randy starting off strong in the pun game. I love it.
you can
All
stop
right.
that, meow.
At least I used the right word this time.
Well, there were some things that were accurate, some things that were wildly off, and some things that I don't even remember if those things actually happened. But nonetheless, let's pick things up here. So the group, and I'll do a little bit of a little recap just myself here so that I can get myself into the right frame of mind. The group here, again, successfully had what they thought was thwarted a kidnapping, which turned out to have much more consequence and much more subterfuge potentially going on. Raze and it brought the group to the Stew and Pearl. Took you guys the better part of almost the entire day to get through the busy city streets. And as you made your way through these mega city blocks here, where again, sometimes you can't even see the sky because of all the roofs and the overhangs from the 10, 12, 14, 15-story buildings, you made your way down towards the quarantine area. Right outside the quarantine area, there was a bright green barrier, and there was very little activity. And right across from that was the building that Raze was taking you to, the Stew and Pearl. Making your way inside, Ophidian's character saw somebody that he had known, and that's when Rolex decided to make a impromptu kind of recording device out of his ear. While this was going on, Raze also found his friend Cormat inside there, deeply disturbed and very worried about potential retaliation from the Wintermere family as based on what happened to their tram line and the attack that resulted. During this time, Les spotted inside of the back room of the Stew and Pearl the purple-haired woman that you were chasing and trying to rescue that had blinded, I believe it was Raze and Ophidian in the street and tried to make her escape. That is where we left off as Raze was knocking on the back door of the room and being let inside. So, does anyone have any questions, anything that you want to do before we move into that scene, or should we pick things up?
I just want to mention that we did, per Jason's request, and I can't remember if it was on or off air, but we did level up to 5.
Yes, that's
so
right.
our characters are level 5 at this point. But other than that, I'm good.
Okay.
I know I sent messages to people, but how fast does that take?
It does take some time. So again, there is the city is sprawling, so it's going to take a little bit of time. You have that little medallion that they gave you that will start to blink when that person receives it. So you probably estimate by morning, because it's late at night. It's probably around midnight right now for you guys. You probably will have that. Probably will go off, and you'll probably have the person you sent the messages to will have received those messages.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good time to send a message. Low traffic.
There you go.
Well, maybe.
Well, depending
on who's getting the message, though.
Yeah, it's going to wake.
Doesn't matter.
It's going to wake up somebody at 2 a.m. What the hell? Package. UPS is delivering things at 2 a.m.
This weird lizard bird doing on my windowsill. It's croaking nevermore. I'm concerned.
All right. So, Raze is moving his way into the back room of the Stew and Pearl. Raze, as you open up the door, you see the woman's her silhouette, and as the door opens up, there is a large individual with a mask over his face, and he opens up the door and he kind of gives you a nod as you enter in. As you enter in, they're standing across the way, dressed in some well-looking robes, is the person that you know as the Second. He turns and he looks at you as you enter into this back room here. There is, again, a very nice wooden desk. Looks maybe out of some sort of oak and beautifully varnished. There are several bookcases and some various knickknacks that are on the desk themselves here. He stands in front of a window looking down into the city streets here. And outside you can see the city illuminated. And there's a little bit of a green glow coming from the left-hand side of the window, which represents the quarantine arcane barrier that is up and just kind of illuminating and radiating that kind of green light. As he walks in, he looks over at you and he gives a little bit of a nod. He goes, Tower. Good to receive you. Please, step inside. It is fortunate that you have arrived at this particular time. he looks over and you can see the woman. She's, she has her head in her hands and she's just sitting there like covering her face, and she's just her leg is shaking kind of nervously up and down, up and down, up and down. And as you walk in, he goes, "What can I do for you, Tower? I'm a little bit involved in a bit of a situation at this moment."
Raze is going to look from second to the woman, back at him. If the situation is what I believe it to be, then that is also why I'm here. I've received word of a incident downtown that some associates of mine were involved in. I've also been informed that things were not as they seemed, so they're responsible for the mess.
So as you
to amend it.
Yeah, as you say this, the woman, she pulls her hands down and she looks and she goes, "Do you know the people who are responsible for this?"
For your being here in this room, yes. I imagine this is not your intended destination.
She kind of gets up, and before she can stand up, and because she looks like she's angry, she seems like she's been through a lot in the past 12 hours. The second he just puts his hand up and she looks over at him and he sits back down and he goes, "Well, it seems that fate has intertwined our journeys together, Tower." He walks over to around the desk and he puts his hand on her shoulder and he goes, "What do you know about the Dresden Hooks, Raze? Your friend Cormac was in here earlier. He seemed a bit nervous."
I know that the Dresden Hooks typically operate off of the Dresden port. While I'm not too well versed in their exact dealings, after all, I belong here, under your watch.
Yes, the Dresden Hooks, unfortunately, left to their own devices, Ursa, their leader, is a little bit too heavy-handed when it comes down to her dealings. She doesn't understand nuance of balance of power and subterfuge. She decided that it might be best to reach out to one of the families and an ill attempt to coup power from the Wintermere family. He again his hands on the shoulder of the woman, of Shayla, who you know her name is. You guys remember? You guys again, Ophidian and both Raze. You both knew who she was because she is of higher stature. She is the daughter of the brilliant artificer that created most of the technologies that are currently being used in the cities, and she has also been somebody who's helped her father in developing those things. So she's pretty wealthy, and she is very well known. As he puts his hand on her shoulder and he goes, "Charlotte, would you mind sharing what you told to me with Tower?" And she looks up at you and she goes, "His people will respond." He goes, he just kind of puts his hand up, and you can see the kind of respect that the second, and even your group, holds even to this person here who comes from a very powerful group that belongs to the controlling family of the city. And she stops and she goes, Fine. If you can help me get out of this mess here, then maybe things can be salvaged here. But I was approached by the Bashar family after I came to them. I needed somebody who could help me reveal safely what the Wintermere family is doing. There's a power shortage, and me and my father have been working tirelessly, week in, week out. We've not slept in days at times to try to rectify the situation. All of a sudden, the generators, the power plants, they were suddenly being inundated with this excess flow of energies right at the same time that the quarantine happened. I've seen creatures being brought in, creatures bringing in large casks, wagons, carts. We weren't allowed to go near them. They brought them into the restricted sections, but ever since then, they have been building and building and building more and more power reserves. We are now at a surplus. That's why we were able to create the airships and start to push forward the things that the Wintermeres were doing. I knew that something was horrible was happening. So I went to the Pashar family, and they put me in contact with Ursa from the Dresden Hooks. They believed that they had the muscle to get me into the quarantine zone and retrieve evidence. Now, you have killed those muscles, and I am now out here on the streets alone with no protection at all. And with that, the second looks over at you, Raze, and goes, yes, it is unfortunate this happened. But I think, Raze, potentially you and your potential friends that were a part of another job that was rather successful might be able to help in this situation. What do you think? Or sorry, Tower. I said Raze because I saw your name on there. Right? He's referring to you as Tower. Apologies.
Is Raze the only person in this conversation?
Yeah, he was the only one. He was the only one allowed in the back at the time.
Okay.
I believe my group is more than capable of some infiltration. Exfiltration will probably be the larger concern.
She looks over at you, and at a second he goes, well, that was one of the reasons why Shyla was going to help the Dresden Hooks. She has the ability to break through the quarantine barrier. She looks down, Shyla, you would be, of course, willing to present Raze the same opportunities and the same technology, correct? And she kind of looks at you. She looks at you like still very, you can see there's a level of just anger with her over what happened at this well-laid plan that she had crafted that was, thwarted by your guys' efforts. But she looks and she goes, of course, if they can help me get the information that I need, then yes. And she goes, wonderful. Please, Miss Shyla. He looks over and he kind of snaps his finger, and the guard at the door walks over and he goes, please, if you'll wait outside for a moment, I need to speak to Raze alone, or to Tower alone. I look at each of your names, and that's what I call you guys. So it's just one of those things. She gets up and she kind of gives you a little bit of a head nod, and she walks out the room. Rolex, Ophidian, you see this woman, the person that you had tried to save and had again blinded some of you, walking out, being escorted out by a guard. She kind of comes over and she walks over and she sits next to a bar, and she just kind of sits there staring back at the doorway that she just came out of. What do you guys want to do?
Rolex is spending some time convincing Doug to give his ear back, because Doug went and retrieved it from under the table, and is very, very focused on that, and probably hasn't noticed her come out. I think he had spent some time hanging out with Les, so if Les notices something and wants to make Rolex aware, because Rolex is not really paying attention to anything going on around him. He's just trying to get his ear recording device back from Doug.
Sure. Make it just an animal handling check. Let's just see how much fun you're having with Doug.
And the thing is, he's supposed to obey everything, but I want to make him stubborn.
Yeah, he's stubborn. He's having some fun too.
Let me. I've got to find my character so I can actually highlight it to do the check. Here we go. Animal handling is a flat out 2 on the dice, plus 2 though, so 4. And I guess that will help explain why I'm having such a hard time with it. The dice are confirming my difficulties.
You're very reluctant.
Yes, it probably tastes good. I don't know.
Oh, I just see a Warforged just chasing around a steel cat inside of this place, and everyone just kind of in this crowded bar. They're just like kind of all watching.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a lot of essentially give it to me, a little head shake, and then walk 10 feet away and sit, and that kind of thing, just repeated over and over.
Okay, all right, very good. I love it.
Come here, dog.
Les, Ophidian, what are you guys wanting to do?
So when Les stops paying attention to his nose while Tower walks into the other room, he's going to be like, "Oh, I'm in a bar establishment. Should probably do the respectful thing and 1 drink, please."
Look over. So there's a female behind the bar. She's looks to be shorter and stouter in nature. She's got a large like halberd on her back too, probably for crowd control if someone gets a little crazy. And she looks at you and she goes, "All right, what you want here?" As you put your paw on the table too, you can see some of the charcoal ash just like kind of like leave a handprint there from because again you're still covered in black charcoal from when you guys disguised yourself. She looks down and she goes,
Oh, my apologies. Do you have a washroom? I'll be right back, and I'll clean that up too.
she goes, lavatory's right over there. What do you want to drink there, Catman?
Get me 4 pints, please, and just leave them here, and I'll be right back.
Is
4
that
pints,
what the
all right,
Catman do?
All right. Did you specify
Dealer's
what kind of
choice.
pint you? Deal. All right, very good. She goes behind the bar and she starts pouring out 4 pints. Ophidian, what would you like to do?
I just want to keep an eye on to see what Sumar is doing whenever Shyla comes out of the room.
Okay, when she
about her.
Yeah, so after, of course, getting the table knocked over by this dog cat and putting it back over, and now watching a Warforged just slowly, like chase after this construct, she's looking over. She sees Shayla come out, and she just she gets closer to the person, the hooded individual that she was talking to, and she starts to again just speak more forcefully to them, but again without. Rolex's ear there, you can't really hear unless you get closer and want to do something.
I would love to get closer to see if I could overhear, see their lips move or whatever.
Yeah, sure. Make me just a regular stealth check to see how close you can get without being noticed.
Stealth. Give it a roll.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm slow.
Yeah, all right. Very good. I like the dice too. The dice look good.
I was
So
just
that
going to
was
say that's a different style.
That was a 14 plus. That's a 20. Okay, so yeah, you get closer and closer, and you kind of like turn your back slightly, and you're pretending to have conversations with other people here. You hear her speaking with this individual about bringing her and securing her passage to the Pashar's farm. This has to cut right through Wintermere territory, and it's going to be very dangerous. They need her to get back there, especially if they're going to salvage anything out of this whole entire situation. It's much more of a business transaction in terms of escorting this individual across the city, which will take a couple of days.
Anything she says or he says, let me identify who he could possibly be.
Make a general intelligence check. Let's see if you can piece it together, because you do know enough, about some of the underworld and some of the undercity stuff that maybe you can figure it out.
It was going to be a rough one, just regular intelligence.
Yeah, just give me a regular intelligence check or history check, either one. History check or right.
Well, let me see what I got for that. Yeah, whatever. Let's see what happens.
You do it stealthily. You did good there. Oh, there it is. There's a 20 on the die.
Best I can do.
Ooh, okay. All right. Very good. Very good. So this individual here, as you finally have gotten close enough and you're able to finally take a peek, he's been covering his face in this shroud here for a while. He kind of pulls it back just to adjust some of his hair. He's got long, kind of like black hair that goes down to one side. He's got a nasty scar that goes over part of his face, and there's a ring that he has as he brings his hands out as they get closer in. He kind of puts his hands out on the table like this here. He is from the group of the Bronze Knuckles. They are probably the top tier protection group within the city. They are part of the Fighters Guild that is widely known. And this person here is Devdin Trissan. Is his name. He is one of the lead enforcers of this, and he is somebody who can scrap. You've heard and you've seen, you've heard rumors of, some of the things that he's fought and some of the creatures that he's encountered here. But, this kind of now makes...
What's his name? Dresden?
I'm sorry, Devdin Trissan.
Gotcha. So he has a rep.
Yes, he does have a rep. And now that you kind of see that telltale scar across his face, you're like, oh, I know who that guy is. Okay. All right.
Jason, I want to ask a clarifying question, because one thing you said earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt at the time because it didn't matter at the time, but You said somebody could break through the quarantine barrier. In my head, I had pictured the quarantine barrier as like a visual indication. Is it an actual physical or magical?
An actual physical, magical,
Okay,
arcane
so
barrier.
it's a thing that you can't just walk through. Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
hadn't clicked for me before until you just said somebody knew how to break through it.
All right. So, Les and Rolex, as Shikati is leaning over and listening to things, Rolex, you're moving your way around the bar, playing and trying to get your ear back. As you do this, Les comes out of the lavatory, unless you're finally like clean. Your fur is dripping wet and stuff, but you're finally clean of all the ash and stuff. Shyla looks up, she sees the two of you, and she stands up quickly, and she looks at you, Les, and she goes, "You!" And she starts to walk up to you furiously. What would you like to do?
Oh, you! We saved you. Where'd you go? That was very dangerous.
She walks up to you, and you can see she's rearing back to just slap you in the face. What do you want to do?
He's just gonna take it because he did not expect it at all.
Okay, so it just
she keeps on shocking him with her actions of being rescued.
So
he has no idea what's going on.
So as this happens, you get smacked in the face. It doesn't cause you any damage or anything like that here, but you get smacked in the face. You're like, oh, and you can like, man, she's got like a pretty firm hand right there. She looks at you, Rolex, and she does the same. She goes, you both, you're the reasons. And she walks up to you, Rolex. She looks like she's going to do the same thing. Yep. What would you like to do?
That's fine. This is something Rolex is eager for: the human interaction, how beings that are sentient actually interact with each other. Not only would he be very interested that Les was slapped, he wants to know what that's like. He'll put his chin forward.
Okay, she goes over and she slaps your chin, and it just tink, and she can see her hands. She's like, you're with that. She is so furious right now. What would you two like to do?
I'm sorry, ma'am. What's the problem? We helped you at the train situation. You were being kidnapped.
She goes, you didn't help anything. You cost several good people their lives and ruined any chance potentially of taking down. She looks around, noticing that she's in a public place, and she starts to quiet herself down as far as what she's about to say. And she just turns and she starts to kind of like walk back to the bar.
I want Rolex. I want to put my hand on her shoulder and say, would you help me get my ear back from Dog?
Make a persuasion check.
Yeah. Skills. So not very persuasive. Let's see how it works out. Nope, not persuasive at all. That's a 3 with no modifier.
Yeah. She's about to like turn around and slap you again, but she thinks about her throbbing hand already, and she kind of just goes. She looks at you. Why don't you ask your master here? She like kind of nods over to Les to help you recover your ear.
He smells like burning fur.
I washed myself thoroughly.
He smells like flowers and burning fur.
But I'm confused because you were in danger and we saved you after these people destroyed a train and possibly killed other people that were innocent.
She looks she turns back around and she walks over to you, Les, and she like sees around the bar. She like grabs you by like your whisker and she starts pulling you over towards one of the corners. And she lets go, and you're like, ow, why? Why people gotta grab me by the whiskers? She looks at you. She goes. Those people were helping me escape the situation that I was in. They were helping me get into the quarantine zone, and you ruined it. You and your construct thing over here ruined it. It's not his fault. I know that constructs don't have reasoning or abilities. This is your fault. She's pointing to you. You can see that she kind of thinks that you're in charge of him.
I understand your confusion with what happened with us, but you got to see our point of view, because we just saw someone being attacked, and I thought you were being captured, so we went in to rescue you from those what we thought were villains. So our bad.
make another persuasion check. Let's see if she buys it.
I'm trying to figure out how to play like nice, but also like, what the heck, lady?
So like, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. I was confused. You were being rescued at gunpoint.
Oh,
What
okay.
is with Les and these lucky
Ooh.
rolls? 21.
Well, I've got the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, Les is like not. Les is like he's like so charismatic right now. She looks at your and you kind of give like the innocent cat eyes,
The puppy
Aw.
eyes, the cat puppy eyes.
cat
little
puppy
slight
eyes.
purr going
The
on.
Puss in Boots eyes.
Just
Yeah.
a
There you
small,
go.
low vibrate.
She looks over at you and she goes, "You know what? You're right. I'm just a little bit exhausted. I'm a little bit tired. I'm a little bit frustrated, but you're right. And I think that the city probably could use a lot more people who would run to help somebody who is seemingly being kidnapped. We did not anticipate that when we came up with our plan. So thank you for trying to save me, but still ruining a well-laid plan."
Look, Raze and what the heck is your character known as? Ophidian. They were the ones with the plans for most of the stuff that we do. But I was a former soldier, so I am willing to help you get through this. So
She looks over
rest
at
easy,
you.
we'll come up with a plan.
Yeah, she looks at you and she goes, "Thank you. And I'm sorry I did not mean to insult your construct. You've done quite a good job of making one that seems to have free will and things."
And the whole time with Les being as convincing as he is, and Rolex still not understanding the idea of being rescued by gunpoint or at gunpoint, is going to be a slow nod the entire time.
Love it.
And I'm sorry for what
Yeah.
happened to your friends. I did not know that they were actually helping you. If I had any idea whatsoever, we would have just helped out the people that were on the train.
She goes, "I believe you." And then she looks over at you, Rolex, and she is a keen artificer, and she like walks over toward you and she goes, "Wow, you've done actually quite a good job with this one here. I've never seen a model like this with yes, I mean this is very unique." She looks over at you, Les.
Now, one thing that I'll point out too, Jason, anybody who might have NPCs who might have the history knowledge of the old family,
Yeah.
Rolex specifically has that crest right at
Yeah.
right at what would be like a brooch
Oh
area.
yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
I'm aware of that.
I just want to
yes.
throw that because, to me at least, anybody who's aware of it shows that he's like an old model. Like
Yeah.
it's got a really old stamp on him. But
Yeah, she's
I think for me at least, I would have Rolex react to that as if she was talking to him and not Les.
Yeah.
And my answer would be, I did not make myself.
she looks at you and she goes, "No, of course you didn't make yourself. I'm talking to your master, your creator."
Oh, no. Rolex right here. This is Rolex, by the way. He is his own being. And my name is follower of paths less traveled, but you can call me Les. My friends call me Les. And when you have a fighter named Les, less is more or less.
She looks
I am not a legume.
she looks at you and she goes, "That you this Warforged, this creature's not that has no owner, has no." And again, you can tell that she's a little bit younger, so she doesn't necessarily have a large history of knowledge. But she then takes out like what appears to be glasses, and she starts like looking. She like reaches up to your face, Rolex, if you allow her to grab it.
Oh yeah.
Because you're about a foot taller than her, and she kind of pulls you down, and she's looking over you, and she starts to get very interested in you, and she starts to kind of like go over you piece by piece here. We're going to come back to that in just a second here.
Sure.
But Tower, you're inside the room, and as the door closed and you hear things going on, and again, you can hear some things going on outside. You hear like a slap outside and things like that because it happened close to the door.
Smack, clang.
Cling.
She's certainly lively.
Yes. He's looking outside and he goes, "Tower, this is a fortuitous event for us. The Dresden fools have opened the door for us to significantly weaken the Wintermere and Peshar family together. Now, I'm a little concerned here that it was your friends that were involved. Do you vouch for them? Can they be trusted?"
I can vouch for their skill and loyalty, their intelligence and reasoning, or at the very least, their intuition.
I've been thrown
Not
under
as
the bus
much.
again. That's awesome.
I feel a proper explanation is
Yeah.
needed.
He looks over at you and he goes, "Well, I trust you, Tower. You have proven yourself to be a dedicated individual to our cause. But again, we do have a window of opportunity here. The Wintermere family, they will amass people and they will head down to the docks to take care of this potential attack. They will remove anybody who stands in the way of their control. While they're doing this, we have an opportunity to get into the quarantine zone. Is that something that you feel you and your friends are ready to handle?
Oh yes, absolutely.
He looks out the window and he goes, "Good. It's unfortunate that we'll lose the docks, but some sacrifices need to be made. You agree, Tower?"
Of course. So as soon as we can buck the rider, as some in the Pashara family might say, it won't really matter.
He looks over at you and he goes inside of onto his desk and he pulls open a small box. He opens it up and he takes something out and he goes, "This convoluted plan between the Hooks, the Bashar family, and the Wintermere family is exactly the reason why this city is the way it is." He's like, "We will use this to our advantage." He walks over to you and he hands over what appears to be an insignia. It's a cloth of a Bashar family guard. It is purple and it has the emblazoned letter P with a wheat field background on it because again they are known for their agriculture and their things like that. And he goes, "Go into the quarantine zone, find this evidence, bring it to me, and then I'll keep Shyla in play. When the time is right, we will make proper use."
Understood.
He pulls out something from his jacket and he places it on the table for you. And as you kind of reach over and pick it up, as you're accustomed to these kind of things, you pocket it here. He looks over and he goes, "Now, several people at the docks will die, Tower. I'll do my best to protect your friend, but I estimate within the next 48 hours, most of the Dresden harbor will be on fire."
I understand.
Good. Please, you are free to handle things as you wish.
Understood.
He turns and he gives a little nod to the guy at the door and he opens the door and you walk out. As you walk out, I'm going to send you what you received from him. Again, it's up to you if you would like to share that with the group. But as you walk out and you're heading out, you see there is Shyla. She's like holding Rolex's head and just turning it around and like moving it up and down, and she's just kind of going, "Remarkable, absolutely remarkable." She looks at you and she goes, "How are you feeling right now, Rolex?"
This piece here where you see the leather, I did that myself. I added leather into my construction. It was wood and metal. It now has leather.
She looks at you and goes, "That's fascinating here. This symbol, this looks to be something ancient here. Who is this, Rolex? Is this something that you crafted yourself?"
No, I believe, the property of a family that has been gone for about a century.
Oh, I can't hear you, Randy.
What? Randy.
Well, we lost Randy's
Turn my
audio.
mic off.
There he is.
Rolex. Shh. We can't be talking too loud about that. We don't know who our enemies may still be.
We have enemies.
Lots of enemies. Let's just. Can you be trusted? Can we trust you with something?
Yes, you can trust me less. Actually, you can
Talking
trust
to the
me more.
purple-haired girl who's never introduced herself to us.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's been a difficult day for me. My name is Shyla Steelden, and
Hi, Shyla. We are from a very old family that I forgot the name of and didn't write down on this page.
the Jurleek family, correct?
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce
that
it,
sounds
Joe?
right. Yep.
Yeah. You know how good I am at pronouncing things.
Well, I want to take the first pronunciation as canon, so you nailed it.
There we go. Excellent.
and they were unfortunately defeated several years back? Or
100 years. They fell out of
it's a
power
long time
100
ago.
years ago.
how long ago? Sorry,
100 years, a century, at least.
I
A
wonder if
little
it was
bit longer.
the Yuan Ti that defeated them years ago.
There must be
That's fine.
a mix up. We'll have to talk about that
No,
later then, because
Maybe.
I used to follow them somehow, and I'm only like 30
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah, your family followed them and stuff. So again, we'll figure that out in a second. But yeah,
You knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy.
Exactly.
Static was just passed down, and insignia was passed down from family to
Yeah.
sibling to childhood.
Yeah.
Child.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so
Okay.
much that the family was forgotten, it's just that nobody really cares about them because they haven't been in power for 100 years. So you end up forgetting things you don't care about. And that's one of them right there.
There's still possible threat with us being from that family still.
she looks at you and she goes,
Okay.
"Oh my, well, I'm very, very well versed in the politics of families in this city, so I promise I will keep this quiet here. But this is remarkable. Most warforges don't have the ability to become sentient. They haven't had it since the Great Wars, many years and years and years ago, and even then it was very rare."
Someday I hope to create another being like me.
She looked at you. She goes, "Well, maybe I can give you some tips and some pointers, Rolex, since you both did try to save me, which I appreciate." Right at this time, Shikate, you see, you're overhearing the details of the job. You're overhearing the amount of coin that's being transferred from the Bashar family to Devdin, and things like that. You see Rolex and Les across the bar, not too far away because it's not a massive room, but right across the way here, talking with Shyla. And then you see Tower coming out. He's putting something into his pockets and going in there.
I'm holding position, just paying attention to everything.
And Rolex is curious of one other thing for Shyla, and he would ask her directly, do I have to point a weapon at you to be your friend?
She looks, she goes, "I would prefer not, Rolex."
Oh, that seemed really important for your friends earlier.
Yes, there was a reason why that was, Rolex. I'll explain that to you later. As this happens, Raze, you come out and you see your friends. What do you all want to do?
I'm first. I'm going to mentally kick myself because I intended to ask second about what was it, Timeless Fang. Considering that was our original goal.
Mm.
Wait, we had a goal?
Yeah, we were coming here to meet with a guy who
I
knew
completely forgot
where
about
the
it
guy
too.
was. I haven't forgotten.
The train thing was so cool. I completely forgot that we were on the train for a reason.
What's
Nice.
going on?
Yeah.
I will meet with. I'll go with the larger group that is Rolex, Les, and Shyla.
Yeah, and then Raze, you would also Raze, you would also know there is a room in the off in the corner here that is a secret room that you can go to for planning and prep work. There's a little bit more quiet if you wanted to talk in a group with each other. Inside the Fifth Form's Stew and Pearl little base of operations here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to regroup with everybody. Motion for Shukati to join us.
Okay. All right. Are you bringing Shyla along with you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And as you do this here, Les, Raze is beckoning you guys in there, and he walks over. There's actually a person that looks like he's sleeping by the table, who's got his head down. As soon as you walk up, Raze, he kind of perks up immediately, and he just kind of goes and he kind of like bangs on the wall, and you hear a click, and he gets up. And as you guys make your way in, Les, as you're making your way in, the woman comes out. She has a big flat tray of pints, and she's walking towards you, and she puts them down in front of you, and she goes, I know that you're going back there with Tower. Here, some pints for you. That will be 25 gold, please."
Oh, okay. Do I never wrote down gold. Do I have that? I forget.
Yeah, you have. You should have 150 gold right now on.
Yeah, because you
Okay, I
you
knew that.
barely
That's my
paid
character
to
sheet.
ride the train too.
Oh,
I
that's
think
right.
you paid the low amount.
You got 124 gold. You only paid 1 gold coin to ride in the very, very back of the train.
Okay, here you go.
Thank you. And she turns around and she walks inside. You walk in, man. When you said dealer's choice, she got you top shelf stuff. When it comes down to it. So there are four large pints of shimmering like blue liquid inside of it.
Interesting. Pretty.
Yeah. Yes.
Chris, does Shukati come over, or like do they make it clear they're focused on something?
I'm kind of trying to watch everything kind of happen all at once. If I notice you signal me over, I'll kind of give you a give me a moment kind of signal.
All right. As soon as Shukati gives me that signal, I'm going to like tap the doorman and
Yep.
point at Shukati. They're with
Mhm.
me.
Oh, no problem, Tyler. He goes back and he pulls his hat down like he's sleeping again. But you can see he's underneath the lid of the hat. He's just keeping a sharp eye on everything that's going on in the bar.
There's just like the tiniest
Yep,
slit
tiniest
in the
little-
hat.
Tiniest little slit, and he's just watching everything.
It's like
All right.
right there on the edge of that little like band that you see on like fedoras or trilbies.
Awesome.
Because
Exactly.
nobody else can
yes.
tell, but he's got that tiny, just perfect view. Right. So yeah, we all go into the back
All
room.
Shikati, so since you're waiting for them, you see them go in the back room here. What would you like to do?
I'd like to see if Sumar and Devdin say anything about that group that takes Shiloh into a back room.
So as this happens, they definitely watch as she goes into the back there. But you hear a whisper. You hear, "No, it's all right. The owner of this establishment promised us safe passage for her, so she's here. She'll join us when they're done." You kind of get the sense that she's already talked to potentially somebody from Raze's group or from this particular organization that she's in at the Stew and Pearl, and they feel comfortable enough to leave her out of sight for a few minutes while they're doing things.
All right. I'll join the rest of the group then.
Okay, yeah, you walk in. We'll say the group's back together. Inside the back, it's dark, and then as Raze walks in, he reaches up and he like snaps his fingers up towards the ceiling, and then there's a couple of lights that just like pop on. There's a large table right there. There are several cots and beds. It looks like this is a place for people to maybe hide out if they are in trouble or if they're trying to duck the law for a little bit. And there's rations. There's food and water back here and things. There's a table with looks to be various maps of the city on it. What would you guys like to do?
I'm going to pass out my drinks. Here you go. Raze.
I keep checking my
Rolex, do you drink?
Yeah. Rolex eats and drinks, but gets nothing out of it.
Yeah.
It's an
There you go.
experience.
And
The other thing I wanted to throw in there, Jason, is I just threw another animal handling check in there and got a 7. What I'd like to do is just have Doug walk over to at some point at Shiitake and just spit the ear out at her feet.
Yep, absolutely. We'll call it when it happens. So absolutely. As you hand out the drinks, Les, Shiloh looks at you and you don't have a drink for her, and she's like,
"Oh no, Ophidian didn't show up in time, so he."
yeah, he wouldn't have taken a drink anyway.
All right, very good. I love it. Okay, she looks at you, she says, "Thank you," and she drinks.
I was going to interject and say that. Oh, by the way, it's starting to storm here, so if I vanish suddenly, I'll try to get on my phone. So.
Okay, all right. Well, hopefully, no vanishing happens. Okay, what would you guys like to do?
I keep staring at my message thing to see if anything. Well, I have two separate messages.
Two separate ones, yeah.
One going to the Net Diva, and the other one going to my
you imagine
Masters.
Yeah, you imagine the Net Diva one will go off first because she is closer in proximity to where you sent the messages to the other people. But they haven't gone off yet. It's only been about an hour since you guys have been in here, and again, it's a big city, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's on its way.
Yep.
It's on its way.
I'm going to get comfortable, just sit by one of the mats, relax, get kind of compose myself, because this is gonna take a while. Gesture for everybody else to take a seat. Please make yourselves at home.
I will look at Rolex will look at whoever looks most comfortable and mimic however they are seated or reclined with the feet up on whatever
Sure.
other piece
Everybody,
of furniture.
yeah, everybody make a comfort check. Let's just roll a d20 and see how comfortable everybody is.
Comfort check. And
Sure, why not?
I'm going to
Let's just
match
see.
it.
Les is going to grab all the pillows
Oh,
from the
no.
beds and sit on them. So
That's a
let's see
4
how
for
this
me.
goes.
Hey, I doubled yours, Eli. I got an 8.
No,
Nobody is
comfortable at all.
comfortable. What is this room? Just a bed of nails?
Nobody rolled higher than 10.
It's a private
room is not
room. It's not a comfortable room.
I guess
Nice.
people aren't meant to stay on these pillows for very long.
Why is everything made out of rock?
Yeah, like you pick up one of the pillows and
Must
it's
be the
not an
interrogation
actual
room.
pillow. It's like a log in a pillowcase.
It's
Yeah.
a painted piece of wood.
All the fruit in the bowl is wax.
Yep. Yeah. Tower gets a splinter in his butt as he sits on the thing. He's like, oh, and he pulls out. He's like, I'm gonna have to talk with the second about improving some conditions in here.
Is this a hideaway room or an interrogation room?
So not the most comfortable.
Depends on what we need.
Not the most comfortable, but it is a secure room at least. So that's the good news. All right.
Pretty bad when a pillow fight could be fatal.
All right. So Tower, what would you like to go over with the group then?
So then, first things first, Miss Shyla, I would like to formally apologize for the actions of my compatriots.
She looks at you and she goes, I already received an apology. She looks over at Les and at Rolex and she goes, and I apologize for being so upfront and so frustrated with all of you. It was a long and trying day, and I hope that you understand the significance of what we were trying to do here. But like I said to your friend over here, Les, the city probably could use a lot more people who would go to help somebody who was being kidnapped. So thank you, and I appreciate the apology.
Anytime.
All right,
well-
then. With that out of the way,
Big ears. I can hear.
let's discuss our current objective. If you would start us off, Shyla, give us some context to the situation. The second has informed me, but my allies still need a simplification.
So she stands up over the map and she basically breaks down kind of what she said to Raze inside of the room here. Her goal was to have the Dresden hooks be her muscle and get her into the quarantine zone, that she has the technology to break through the barrier so that she can find out what happened inside there and get the evidence she needs of the Wintermere's plot, or what they're doing in there to harvest buildings and resources and use those for power for what they're trying to build with their magnificent airships, with the tramways, with everything else that's been going on in the city. She goes over, where she wanted to enter in and what was going to happen. And obviously now that the Dresden hooks need all their men to withstand the assault that's going to happen from the Wintermeres, she has nobody to get her inside anymore. And that's where you guys come in.
So I assume I could use whatever Raze has heard previous to me being in I could use that information to ask her questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say if there's something that was, only meant for Raze, then, we might retcon it. But yeah, absolutely. You should be fine.
Well, like for the thing, like, hey, certain creatures were bringing these big cats.
Yes.
What kind of creatures were you talking about?
She looks, she goes, Rolex, I think, is the tallest out of all of you, right?
Probably.
Kind of, maybe.
Probably.
I'm kind of average. I don't know.
I think everyone else is average. How tall is Rolex?
I was giving him around 6.5 feet.
6.5 feet.
But
Okay.
depending on any given time, he could be slightly taller, slightly shorter, because
Yeah,
mechanical.
I'm a little-
So
Like he's got
shorter than that.
hydraulics that could raise him up or lower him a
there
little.
you go. He's got built-in heels that.
Yeah.
He just reaches down and pumps his feet up.
Yeah, exactly.
Old school Nikes.
Yeah.
Okay, so she looks at you, Rolex. She goes, well, they were very tall, lanky creatures, very pale, dark complexions, and they only came up through the sewage ways. The sewage ways obviously connect everywhere under the city, and they are bringing massive carts and loads there, but they are around 7 feet-ish tall. They looked to be humanoid, but I couldn't get a good look because they were always being brought through the restricted areas. I could only see sometimes if I was stealthy enough myself to, look around a corner when, the gods had their backs turned or something like that here. But they were tall, lanky type of creatures bringing things in. Some of them looked like they had grayish hair or silver hair, but I never got a great look at them. But I just know that they are not part of the workers of the plant. I know that they're none of my people or my father's people. They were definitely something that was different.
Is that description? Does that mean anything to Ophidian?
That's all I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Does it ring a bell for anybody?
What kind of
as
check
far
would you
as
make
a
to
race?
see if you would make if that would hear anything?
I don't know.
Now this is open conversation in the room.
Open conversation. This is open conversation. She's talking freely to all of you.
So I'd like, for myself at least, Rolex internally would want to check if it's anything he remembers from his nature studies, because he's trying to work on beings.
I like that. Go for it.
Let me throw that in there. Sorry to interrupt, Chris. I just want to make sure I threw it in.
No, that's fine. I'm trying to figure out what.
Yeah, I still can't roll more than a single digit. However, I got a +6 modifier,
14.
which gives me a 14.
14.
Yeah.
14 is pretty good. I'll let Shikati kind of figure out what you want to roll here, and then once that roll comes in, I will let you guys know what you know.
Yeah. I would also like to make a roll if you'll allow me.
Sure, of course. What do you want to roll?
I want to roll an attack with my sword.
No. I don't want to roll to attack. I'd like to make an intelligence history check.
Sure. Yeah. He's going to attack his brain. He's going to try to figure out what that was.
Yeah. See if I've read anything, heard any stories.
Sure.
Just anything like that. Ooh, 20 total.
20
you got a
total.
+8. Oh my gosh. You're super...
for some reason, history.
What was it? Do you have the Jack of all trades thing as well?
I
believe so. I think all bards should have Jack of all trades.
It hits at some level, but I wasn't sure if it was a specific
I think it hits at like level 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But anyways,
cool.
Shikati, we have a couple of rolls here. What do you want to roll?
I guess Arcana kind of makes sense for some kind of like weird creatures or something.
Sure.
Yeah, if it was like manufactured.
Magical creatures, things like that. Yeah, I can dig that. Go ahead.
I mean, my intelligence sucks, so we'll see how that works out. I mean, good last time. We'll see.
On a roll of a natural 20, you get 19.
Yeah.
Well, then with your guys' rolls, Shikati, you're sitting there and you're thinking, and it sounds familiar to some of the tales that you remember of creatures from the Underdark. And then for Raze and for Rolex, you guys definitely have a better idea of who these are, and who they are is terrifying. They are the end of the episode.
Damn it.
Oh, no.
Why did they show up now?
They always show up at the worst time.
Anything but those.
But we will pick it up there, and we will let you guys know what they are on our next one.
Cool.
My father died to an end of the episode once.
We can wrap this one up. I will press a button.
Bye-bye.
The preceding podcast was brought to you by Mojo Young. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com.
Randy? Anything?
End right meow.
Okay, bye.